down to like, there's a shot where cigarettes are falling down and hitting the table. I mean, he's tapping the table with the mic there to get that sound of the cigarette. Every little sound effect, every little everything, he poured his heart into that as well for us. And so it was such a great team effort of super talented people. And for us to just say, you know what, we know what we're good at. We know what everybody else is good at. Let's all come together and just fucking kill this project. And that's what you get to see today, is the beautiful culmination of everybody's talents coming together.
Even the narrator that we have, Peter Weller, who was RoboCop, you know, like we were sitting with Pete Johnson at the Grand Havana one day in LA, and we're like, well, we need a narrator. And out of the corner of Pete's eye in walks Peter Weller, and he's like, why don't we just ask Peter to do it? And we're like, yeah, well, why don't we just ask Peter to do it? You know, we'll just ask him. And he's like, yeah, I'll ask him.
So RoboCop, Sons of Anarchy,
yeah,
Dexter,
I mean, like,
you fucking name it.
He's a professor at UCLA. Like, this guy is like, you know, I mean, if you love Peter Weller, you know, he's just nuts in a good way, obviously. And that's literally how we got him, because Pete Johnson just walked up to him and was like, hey, what's up, Peter? I need a favor. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. As long as you guys... So Peter did the narration. I don't know if you've ever been to the Grand Havana in Beverly Hills, but there's a... Okay, cool. So there's that room upstairs where there's one bathroom up there, and you walk through that room to get
Usually
there.
like the poker room.
And
because there's two places I usually, when I'm in LA, one is the V-Cut.
V-Cut's great. Yeah, love that place.
V-Cut and the Grand Havana. And what's interesting, after the documentary, I reached out to Peter, you know, what's his name, from Tattoo. I said, yo, I remember you. I remember you as a waiter at Grand Havana.
As a manager,
He wrote back. He was like, "Oh my god!" And I was laughing. I'm just you need to understand where this is all going. It's mad.
Right.
For me, it was very, you know, you say it's a love letter. I could say the likes of me. I write many love letters to to the cigar web. I mean, I and not to get off the topic, but you talked about all this different dynamics of people walking in. Why don't we ask Peter? Why don't we ask this? You're like sitting there going, you know, that is the cigar world. That's how the woman you saw helping me set up just now with my daughter, you know, 3 kids later, that's how we met. I met her in a cigar world. You know, through my best friend who took me to Cuba for the first time.
That's awesome.
Whose father used to smoke cigars with Zeno Davidoff. So
yeah, exactly.
You understand? So that's crazy. It's a conversation that the cigar world is a magical world, and Juan Martinez said it very well in a documentary about cigar is a spiritual thing. You know, I would add to that it's you know, if you talk about it, and you know, I hope many of you listening to this really watch this, because there's a very powerful spiritual aspect to the whole process of cigar making. It brings people together, and which brings me to something Rocky Patel said. Do you remember that? There's something Rocky Patel said, that if we could bring people like Trump and all these people in one room, give them a cigar, you know, and whiskey, honestly, I agree with that. How, you know, but not to take off, you know, please go back. I just had to, you know, chime in with that. That's
well, cigars are a great equalizer. You know, if you enjoy premium cigars, you understand that it's time consuming, right?
Yes.
But you're sitting down and you have nothing else to do but try not to inhale, so you're focused on your breathing. Try not to inhale and have conversations. And you know, we've all met people in the cigar lounges that are just completely quiet, want to keep to themselves. But generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, people want to have conversations. They want to get to know you. Doesn't matter your race, religion, your income, what you do for a living. None of that matters. You just have a conversation. It's a great equalizer, man. And I think that's why Rocky said, which he said Trump and Putin, if they sat together and had a conversation over a cigar, they'd solve problems. That didn't age well. But
Well,
Oh my God.
it didn't age well given the current.
Yeah.
Turns out Putin
Why?
is a bit of a hothead.
Who knew?
Yeah, color me surprised. But the truth of the matter it still stands that you get people together with a cigar, with a glass of something tasty, you're gonna solve some problems.
Yes, problems will
Exactly.
be solved. I mean, problems will be solved. I mean, when I remember when I first met my wife and I was introduced to her through my very good friend in the cigar world. I just remember just being so straight up honest, brutally honest, and you know what? Vice versa, she was brutally honest. And right there, I just remember her looking at me and go, she's like, all right, let's go to Morocco. Let's talk this out. You know what I mean? A year later, we were married.
There you go.
And now, here we are, 3 kids later. But the point is, that antidote right there is, I can say this for you and everyone I know in the cigar world, how decisions are made over cigar or the company of cigars. Yep. Can you truly say to me that really served its purpose in this documentary, because it's magical and people, it's magical, and I think it's very important that I know that you two understand what just happened in this 4 years, and right now that there's another life that's about to take off from that. From the bottom of my heart, I feel it.
Yeah.
And you guys, and do you believe that you also are going to play a big part in what's to come?
I mean, we certainly hope so. Not from an ego perspective, but I think what you're getting at is sort of that there is a, and just the story I was telling you about Peter Weller and all these people, and the fact that the most consistent thing that we've said to each other over the course of this documentary is like, what are the odds? And because things just keep happening and falling into place that just shouldn't. Like, if you thought about it just logically, these things just should not have ever fallen into place. And it's almost like the universe wanted this thing made. And so, there's a sense of goodwill that the industry sort of brings out of people in a weird way. And I think to me, that's sort of what you're getting at, is just this goodwill that it brings out of people.
The movie at the end of the day does not exist without everybody that's in it. If Pete didn't believe in us from the second he met us and invested money into the film and invested time and coaching us and sitting down with us to watch rough cuts of the film, if he didn't do that, the film doesn't exist. If Marvin Shanka told us no a 5th time and we didn't get his interview, that part of the story does not exist. If Juan Martinez wasn't able to be part of the movie, his part and his father's part not being in the film, I mean, everything happened perfectly the way it was supposed to for the right reasons. And we are eternally grateful to these people, because not only is this our baby that we've put 4 years of work into, and since the release have put time and effort into making sure it stays relevant and stays alive. But at the end of the day, this is still, like I was telling you, this is our love letter to the cigar industry and to the people that make this industry happen and that provide these jobs. And for us, selfishly, we get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And we get to meet people like you and have these conversations, which is everything.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, guys. This is we really are going to have to earn on this note. And I tell you something, I see more coming out of this. I really, really, really do. It's going to be an ongoing. I almost feel like we could be here till tomorrow. I mean, I want to go into the likes of Jose, Pepe, and Garcia. The whole, when he talks about the separate zones on a plot, on a farmland, what that felt like to you, the fact that it takes 39 months for the first stages of that tobacco for the decision to be made. I don't think a lot of people, unless they are able to watch this PhD, because for me it is a PhD, and I know I said that earlier on. It is a PhD. You guys did a PhD. This is a PhD. 4 years. I mean, you guys. No offense, but do you feel that? Do you guys feel that way? No, seriously. I mean, I'm going to be the first to say it. You see, you guys. This is a doctorate right here. This is a PhD. This is crazy. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. I don't even know. The editor is going to be like, Oris, what the hell just happened? I'll be like, hey, man, edit it.
It does
really,
feel like
man,
a PhD.
you know, edit it. But
it does feel like a crash course.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah.
We got thrown in. We went from naught to 100 in no time and just got thrown right into it. So, yeah, we're very grateful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was,
wow.
You know, I will say this, like, I'm not, you know, you meet people along the way, and for example, like Pete Johnson, who we talked about, like, we've met people like you did, you know, when he was at the Grand Havana early on, and he was, you know, a manager and a waiter there, or whatever, you know, he was doing at the time. I'm sure he wore a bunch of different hats there. But people that knew him from back then, you know, had pulled us aside and was like, I don't know if you realize, but Pete, like, knows his shit. Like, he knows, you know, people used to hand him cigars unbanded and quiz him on, you know, what were they? And he could just, like, from tasting them, tell you what it was. And it's like, I'm not there. So in that sense, I don't have a PhD.
Yeah.
But, you know, my palate's not that refined or whatever. But for us, it was like, you know what it was? I'm 37 now. He's 36.
Wow.
And when the cigar boom and all this stuff was happening, we were too young to know anything about it. We were like, you know, we were kids. So what could we possibly know? And so we had like all these questions, like, why is the cigar industry the way it is? Why are people so hung up on Cuba? You know, what's with all these other manufacturers? Why are they growing in Nicaragua and Dominican now? We had all these questions that, you know, I mean, I guess you could go and try to find every issue of Cigar Aficionado that ever came out and read it and follow the journey along that way. But for us, it was like, well, let's start answering these questions and give people who are novice or, you know, even, I mean, I think even expert smokers, if that's even a thing, but you know what I mean? Like, people that have been smoking for a long time could find some nuggets in this that they had no idea. But for us, it was like, let's fill in the blanks and understand and explain why the industry is where it is today from like a 30,000 foot view. And so from that sense, you know, it is like a crash course. It is sort of like a PhD. That you know, saying all that, it's like, you hand me a cigar, you know, I might be able to tell you what the wrapper is, maybe. So I don't, you know, my palate's not that refined, but I think, you know, we did strive to understand the industry as a whole. Because we just thought it was so fascinating that, you know, I mean, we were talking the other day with Nick Melillo and Pete Johnson last week before Handrolled went live on YouTube, and you know, like, these guys, you know, they know the whole industry. They've been in and out of the whole place, and it's just it's still for me, you know, shocking when I sit down and talk to them how much I don't know.
Yeah. But that's the whole point of being a student for the rest of your life, you know.
Yeah. And that's what we are. You know, I have a nickname which we coined at Oris Sanctuary, and it's called, for those of us, depending on where we are now, today it's about the cigar. So we are what I call cigar practitioners. And what that means is we are student of the leaf. We don't know it all. Because I'll be honest with you, you know, you went in, you know, when you talked about the whole FDA thing, I didn't know that was going on. I'm really oblivious. You know, the fact that Obama was like, okay, let's do business together. You know, he took off the whole thing from, you know, the whole embargo. I remember him, you know, we came into Cuba. I came into Cuba for the first time when he had just left, and seen a lot of my young American brothers coming in and like literally everybody with your hand rolled, like custom made, going back with like 1,500. I'm like, oh my goodness, can you guys travel with that much? I say, yep. If it goes over the limit, we just pay 7p tax. I'm like, what? So seeing that excitement, that beautiful excitement when, Obama had taken, lifted the embargo, for me, that's the second, third tier of my cigar experience in my 27 years of smoking that brought me joy. So I didn't see this other part. Come on, I didn't see this stuff going on there. The stuff that what's his name was talking about. The blunt. That's Philly Blunt, baby. He talked about. I didn't see that. I never looked at that. I didn't know that was a problem. Or those flavored whatever candy cigars. No, I never smoked those. I don't smoke cigarettes. So cigars my thing. I collect cigars. That's my special. Cigars and whiskeys. I collect them like crazy. That's my thing, and I love giving it to people on their birthdays, like surprising them, like, God, what year was that? Oh, try this one. This is from here. That's the world I come from. So I'm oblivious to certain the very deep, ingrained political stuff you guys were talking about. That's bringing fear into the heart of the tobacco industry. So, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I kind of left. I know you did it 4 years ago, but I did kind of left feeling a bit afraid of the cigar economy. I did. And it brought me down to reality, and I'll be honest with you, it just left me hanging a little bit like, man, this can't happen. There are other things that people can talk about, but come on, it's bringing money, it's bringing wealth, it's helping the economy, it's helping people. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but that's.
Well, it's a looming issue for us today here in the States. With the FDA, there's a constant battle, and there's people like George Padron,
Rocky Patel,
Robbie Levin, Carlito Fuente.
Pete. Yeah, all
these guys are all on the front line, so to speak. They're going to Capitol Hill, and they're sitting in on the conversations and trying to fight for premium cigars to not be grouped in the same category as all tobacco, because it's just not the case. And little by little, they're making progress, or at least slowing down what could potentially negatively happen. So it's, for us, we trust these guys that they know what they're doing and that they're fighting for us, and we try to contribute how we can with like Cigar Rights of America and the organizations that we have out here that are fighting. And it would be devastating to see regulation happen the way that they're proposing it to happen. It'd be devastating to see what it does to a lot of the cigar industry, and we definitely don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have the vast majority of the New World cigars, are marketed in the United States. I mean, that's just the reality, because Cuban cigars are not as easy to get here, and that whole economy went to Europe and China and everything else. So the New World cigars, so to speak, were essentially brought up to serve the U.S. market. And so if you enjoy, out in Europe, if you enjoy your Padrones, if you enjoy your Fuentes, if you enjoy your Tatuajes, you have to realize how directly related to the U.S. economy that the success, the future success of those brands is tied to the U.S. economy. And if the FDA cracks down, it's not so much that cigars are going to go away. It's that what we've come to know and love from the industry, which is you can try a cigar probably every day of the year, a different cigar just about every day of the year, and not smoke the same cigar twice. What you would get if the regulators have their way is a shift to where only big brands that are owned by, let's say General Cigar, Altadis, or these guys, only those companies could survive because they have the infrastructure and the backing and the money to basically conform to the regulations. And you would see a lot less variety and a lot less people taking risk and doing interesting things and trying new blends. And, you know, I mean, you talked about Pepin talking about different plots of land. You know, if you go out, if you're lucky enough to be able to go out and go to his farms with him for a day and to the curing barns, you know, he'll take a cigar that's just been like freshly bunched, and then you'll walk through the curing barn, and he'll grab, or you know, maybe you could do this in the curing barn, you can do this in the aging facility. He'll grab a leaf and wrap the rest of the cigar, and you'll smoke it right then, or he'll burn through just the wrapper or just a particular leaf, and you can taste what a new blend would sort of start to taste like with a different leaf and stuff. And so like that kind of risk and that kind of like the artistic side and the blending side would just go away, and you'd just be left with a limited selection, limited supply. And realistically, you're not doing anything to save the children, because there's no kids spending 10, 12, 15 bucks on a cigar. You know, it's like Nick said, you know, they're after the 99-cent blunts, you know, they're after the $20 vapes that will last you 3 or 4 days that are cherry flavored and, you know, whatever. Like, they're not after this, you know?
Well, wow. We just have to, this is where I'm going to take the Juan Martinez approach. We just have to keep serving, put the people first, and trust the elders. You know, we have to trust them, and just pray. I really, you know, because I could really go down a lot of holes with this. You know, watching marijuana being, you know, pretty much legalized, and I won't be surprised the rest of the world will be, you know, and then I just feel like we're taking a step back on the other thing, this very natural, the simple thing that's done with love, not with, you know, other things, but these are done with hands and passion and people. It takes 300, I mean, a cigar goes through 300 hands. And you know, and that's something, you know, the likes of Juan Martinez was teaching me and explaining to me, and the ambassador of Nicaragua here. And they really broke that down. That, do you know how many hands this goes through and how many people get paid from it? So it's very interesting, in another hand, to see this. I mean, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's just one of those very weird things that we have to, because we're filmmakers, right? You know, we're already dealing with a lot of egos and a lot of, you know what I mean? A lot of people who look at us, we're here. And as we're sitting here having this dialogue, we have other things also that we're working on, we're planning, we're plotting, right? As artists, as entrepreneurs, right? We're not, you know, here, you know, we're both sitting here right now, and you know, I got a script that I've got to go study and go shoot, you know, but at the same time, this is my passion, like you guys. This is my passion. I'm trying to give back with what I feel comfortable with. You know, this is, you know, I'm comfortable here. I could be myself. I could, you know, ideas get drawn from this community of cigar, you know, the cigar communities. Like we've all said that, and the goal now, I'm hoping that anyone who gets an opportunity to watch this PhD thesis in motion, called Hand Rolled, will understand where we're coming from. Why, you know, what's with these three guys? What the hell are they talking about? Well, you know.
Well, we've made it easy for everybody. We released it on YouTube last week, as you know. It's been a week today. We had it on Amazon. It's still on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play, but after 4 years of it being out, we wanted everybody to get a chance to see it, regardless of budget restrictions or geographical restrictions. So we put it on YouTube, and we just hit 10,000 views this morning in the last week. So we're very excited, and yeah, we've made it easy for everybody. So check it out on YouTube. Thank you.
There you go. Listen, go out, see the film. All you got to do is click a button.
Exactly.
You know, go on YouTube, watch it. Look, we're good. I'm good.
Take your laptop outside and smoke a cigar while you watch it.
Smoke a cigar and watch it. It's an education. And it's a very humbling education. And for those of you who are just getting into the cigar game, if you're listening or watching this, first of all, thank you for joining us. Really, really, really take time, question the brand in your hand right now. When you go to purchase cigars, ask questions, man. You know, what region, where is it coming from? I'll make it even crazy. You know, go deeper. What are the cigar, manufacturers doing for their neighborhoods? How they take care, how they take care of their employees? Because you can see all through this interview, we are constantly, one of the chords across all of this is, if you look at the cigar world from the outside, it can look like an ego trip, like a bunch of, am I right? I mean, you're looking at me, you're looking at Steve, and you're looking at Jesse. We don't look like we belong in that world. When you actually watch this, we actually feel small. These are, for us, superheroes. And it's interesting. These are, for us, are like, I don't know if you guys ever watch one of my favorite TV shows, may he so rest in peace, Gandolfini, Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very, very fortunate to have smoked a cigar with him. That's
awesome.
Way to show off.
What I mean. For me, may he so rest in peace. I was invited to one of the Emmys a couple of years back at the Hilton in Beverly Hills. And I have to say that moment behind the scenes smoking a cigar, I didn't care about why I was there. And we didn't talk about, and I've had this moment with a lot of artists around the world who smoke cigars. Oh, and it's funny enough, they're all older guys and, older ladies. We don't talk about anything but life, kids, family, the spiritual aspect of, you know what I mean? And the conversation is so humbling, and I'm warning a lot of people who are thinking about going into the cigar world. A cigar can easily break your ego, and literally take you down to pieces of rubbles. It's like a hurricane, and you can see it. It's like a hurricane. Yeah. It's something that's grown in very turbulent environment. And it's funny, the best cigars have always come out of places of revolution, war, disasters. It's like wine, any given year. And my wife and I, when we were writing this show a couple of years back, she was pregnant of our son. And what was interesting was one of the things that out in Bordeaux, in the Champagne region, when we would go through our cigar and whiskey, community, we would take these excursions, and we always, that's the beautiful thing about that world. At any given moment, you could be somewhere in the world with the owner of something, and it looked like the universe picked you to go with them without asking, right?
Yeah.
And one of the most scariest and most humbling thing, and maybe because my wife also comes from a farmer's dynasty, she's from Norway, so her father, great-grandfather, they all grow wheat, and they live in a farm basically. When we go to Norway, we literally live in a farm, smelling that manure. It's very, very humbling. Yeah. Potatoes, bread, coffee, back to work. I never go there and have a relaxing time. There's a cigar in my mouth, and I'm out there working with them on the farm. Doing what I'm told to do. But one of the things they told me, and this is also part of what I learned from the Scandinavian, the Nordic region, Bordeaux in France, and Champagne is at any given season they could have that ice falling out of the sky. They could have a moment where no rain. So, and I don't think a lot of people understand with tobacco, wheat that you eat in your bread, there's wine that you sit there and you sip, and there's champagne that you're like in a club doing all of this.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these people have an idea what the farmers every year go through, that their life is hanging by a thread. That
Sure.
any disaster could take this down, and they could have the worst bloody year of
course.
you understand.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you guys that did you feel that? Were you able to get the sense that these guys out in Nicaragua were also living, they had that running through them, like
Absolutely.
that fear
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you look at let's say in the Dominican, Fuente, for example, taking risk on trying to grow the wrapper for the opus. People told him he was crazy. People told him the climate was all wrong. It's like, dude, don't tell me like I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And you'll see at the end of it, with all the turbulence, with all the weather, with all the climate, with everything against you, like these guys are out here taking risks. With the Garcias, for example, people often talk about Pepin, but they don't realize that his son Jaime is an agronomer. Like this guy, like he knows the tobacco plant inside and out, and has dedicated his life to understanding it. We were talking to one of the main growers for Davidoff. And, he's dealing with, you think that the climate in of itself and the rain and the monsoons are enough. But, 1 year Davidoff had a problem where the nearby farms that were growing tomatoes and other stuff were having just a crazy insect eating up all their plants. And they were cross-contaminating over to the tobacco fields. And so he had to genetically engineer a pesticide for the tomato farmers that he gave them, so that they could treat their plants, so that the insects wouldn't come and eat the tobacco. And it's just like, I mean, you hear this kind of stuff left and right. I mean, they're dealing with I mean, you're dealing with nature here at the end of the day, and you're cultivating it, but at the same time, you don't get to control every single aspect. I mean, you can control as much as you want. And I mean, these days you go and you see when we were down in Nicaragua, we saw them, putting in some new irrigation systems that, save water and all this stuff. I mean, you do what you can, but at the same time, it's like you don't get to get away from the weather. You don't get to get away from nature. And yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
And some of the best cigars come out of, having to use the crop that you have and finding interesting and different ways to blend it.
Wow. This is an education. Again, this is an education. Like I said, we could go on forever on this, and we definitely doing a part 2. I might even cut this to 3 parts. So,
Perfect.
Listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Even though my wife's gonna whip my ass, but I'm okay. I'll take it. I'll take the good ass whipping. I love you guys, man. And
Thank you.
let me stop this. And yeah.